So I'm going to show you guys how to add a menu onto your game, and while I'm doing this, I'm also going to show you how you can use arrays in GameMaker. Now you guys already know how to make arrays in JavaScript, very similar in GameMaker, and as you can see, I've got a simple tank game here, and I've got my main room right there, and I've added a couple rooms above it, main menu and an options menu. These are pretty much the same, just different options that they can choose. So I'm going to show you the main menu. Basically, this is just a plain room, and I only have one object in it, and that is my object menu object. So to show you how this works, I go into object menu, and I've got just 3 events. When it's created, I've set one variable called mpos equal to 0, m position, and that variable is going to track what position our object is at. And so essentially, you saw that little arrow sprite. That was a sprite we made, and I'm going to have that sprite object or that sprite move to different positions, and then this variable will also check, all right, which position is it in. I've got 4 positions for it: new game, continue game, options, and quit. And here you can see I'm actually creating an array. So menu is the array, and in the 0 positions, this is your index inside the square brackets. In the 0 position is the string new game. In the first position, string continue game, etc. So just 4 elements, and then I've got a variable y offset. What this is how many pixels do we want each item to be separated by along the y-axis. So it's going to go down 80 pixels for each one of these. So that's our create event. In our step event, so this is the guts of making it move and the functionality. So we're resetting the value of our mpos variable, and we're going to decrease it by the max of keyboard check pressed VK up 0. What does that mean? That means that when we push the up key, then what's going to happen is this part right here on this side of the comma, that's actually going to change to the value of 1. Well, it'll be true, but when you put it inside the max function, this will get turned into a value of 1. Okay, max basically returns the maximum value of the other values that are inside it. This function allows you to have up to 16 separate items inside it. This one only has 2. So we've got 0, and right now, if we're not pushing any keys, that will be false. This will return false, which when you process it by the max function will give you a value of 0. When this turns true, max will interpret it as being the value of 1, which means mpos is going to decrease by 1 when we push the up arrow. Similarly, if we push the down arrow, mpos, that variable, is going to increase by 1, because when you push the down arrow, this will return true. Okay. Now, after that, we've got a couple if statements. For one thing, if it's less than 0. So notice in our create event, mpos, that variable, m position, started at the value of 0. If we push the up arrow, that's going to reduce it by 1, making it -1. And what we want it to do is actually jump from the top item to the bottom one. All right, and so what we're going to do is, so if m position is less than 0, in other words, it's -1, we've pushed the up arrow, then we're going to make that m position equal to the array length of menu -1. Now, what was the array length? We had 4 items in that array. Oops. Okay, 4 items, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's gonna, so m position, the length of it will be 4, but we don't want it to go to the 4th index because we don't have the number 4 index. We've got 3, so that's why we're taking the array length -1. In GameMaker, to get the array length, it's array underscore length underscore 1D. It's the length of a one-dimensional array. Okay, we won't get into the difference between one-dimensional and two-dimensional arrays here right now, but that's what that means. Here we've got another if statement. If m position is greater than the array length minus 1, so in other words, if it's greater than 3, then let's have it jump up to the top. So just set m position equal to 0. Okay. On line 11, if keyboard check pressed VK enter, in other words, if the user pushes the enter key, run this function, scr underscore menu. Now what that is, and this is where in GameMaker I've created a script, and this is pretty much where you can create functions that all of your scripts in your code scripts and your different objects can access. Okay, so I've made a function here. I've called it scr underscore menu. That's how you make your function. And then what do you want to do? I'm going to have it run a switch with m position. Now, not other objects won't. If I run scr menu under other objects, it'll cause an error because I'm referring to a variable mpos, and this mpos is a local variable to my menu object. So if you want to use this function on any other object, you have to make sure you initialize this variable inside it. By calling it, it's almost like including this script, the scr menu script, into this object. That's what you're doing by calling it and running it. So it's doing a switch based on the value of mpos. If it's equal to 0, go to room 2. Now it says 2 because 0, 1, 2. It's the same index, starting at 0 and then increasing after that. Case 1 was continue game. That's going to be loading a saved game. I'll get into that later. If it's 2, then go to room 1 index, which is the options menu, or case 3, which the option is to quit, as you see here. Then game end. That's a built-in function in GameMaker, and that will quit your game. Okay? Now, how do we get it to show these items? Because we've got it typed in an array. You might be wondering, well, how does that make it actually show in the menu, or in the screen itself, in the window? And so we're going to go into a draw event. Now, this is just a regular draw event. So if we go add event, draw, that's all it is. Okay? Then we're doing a couple things here. We're going to set our font, and I've set a font already for the menu. It's this one. You pick your font, pick your size. You can even make it bold or italic. All right. Draw set color. Now I've set it to be like a lime green. You can make it whatever color you like. And then I've made a variable m. All right. For m equals 0. You could also, if I wanted, I could just put the var right there, take that out. M, as long as m is less than the array length of menu, and I'm starting at 0, then that's fine, as long as it's less than that, so 0 to 3, and increase m each time. So what I'm going to do here is draw text. In what position? So 100 pixels from the left on my x-axis. You can change that, of course, to be room width divided by 2 if you want to right in the middle. And then on the y-axis, I'm doing 100 pixels down from the top plus m. So whatever m is, at the start it's equal to 0, which means that'll be 0. So it's going to start at 100 pixels down from the top. But then as m equals 1, that's going to be 1 times my y offset. And remember, y offset is a variable that we set in our create event, and we made it equal to 80. That determines how many pixels it's going to be separated. So when m equals 1, that means it's going to be 80 right here. 1 times 80. So 100 plus 80, 180. So the second element will be 180 pixels down from the top. The third one will be 260, so 80 more after that. And then here we put what it's actually going to be. I have to use the string variable, or string function I should say, on my array menu and m. So when you put menu square bracket and an m, then as m increases, it's going to return the string element that's in that array at that point. So the beginning, it will be the 0, 1, which is start game, continue game, etc. And we have to make sure it's string because that's the type of variable this function drawText expects. If you don't include that draw function, it'll probably give you an error. Okay. Finally, we're going to draw our sprite index. Okay, so that's just our sprite right here, this little arrow sprite. And we're going to draw it. Subimage 0. We only have one subimage anyways for this sprite, but it expects an integer there. And then where do we want it? I'm going to have this 60 pixels from the left, and then 120 plus m position times y offset. Okay, so that's the same as this. The reason I'm not using m is because m is going to be iterating through the whole array of menu, right? And position, again, that's what we're setting and changing in our sprite, in our step event. So as we push the up and down arrow, we're changing our variable m position. The moment that happens, we're changing the y position of our sprite. M position times y offset, so it's going to, again, using that 80 pixel offset for each element. And if we run it, here we go. It's got the lime green using the font, and this is 80 pixels down. And if I push the down arrow, you can see it moves like that. Now you may wonder, back on the draw event, why did we have in the draw sprite 60 pixels? Well, I want to have it further to the left than the text. If I had made it the same, 100 pixels, then this sprite would show up right on top of the text. Also, why 120? That's to compensate. I initially had it at 100, and the sprite just looked too high up. It wasn't in line with the text. And so that you'll just have to experiment based on what sprite you use, and you can adjust the x and y value to get it exactly the position you want. But we do want to have it add to this m position times y offset. And that's how you do your menu. Enjoy.